Bethesda Reviews and Microsoft streaming service. It's GNT. Welcome to GNT, your one-stop shop for gaming news and whatever else we want to talk about. I'm Nick.
And I'm Brandon.
We're back after a few weeks with another GNT. We're going to start off with just our thoughts on the Nintendo Switch announcement. That was last week's, but we'll just cover that briefly. To sum it up, I'm actually pretty excited for it. I like the one thing they showed in the commercial or whatever, of the two people had them like sitting at a table and playing, and it just seemed like a cool, different console that will be coming out.
Yeah, I like the concept. The commercial that I saw for it showed a guy playing Zelda. His dog wanted to be walked, so he was able to walk over to the console, pick up the screen, slide the remote control onto the sides of the screen, and go take his dog out and kind of continue to play Zelda. I think that really displays its portability.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think if you can't go and walk your dog without playing, I'm sure Zelda's going to be. Yeah, I'm sure Zelda's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from that, I just don't think that's the best way. I think what the commercial you mentioned, it would interest me more than saying, well, if you go take a dump, you can continue to play Zelda. I mean, cool concept.
True, that's a good point.
Oh, it would be, yeah. I mean, you don't let your bowel movements interrupt your gaming.
No.
But I think that flexibility is very interesting. To have console quality games. Now, I say that very loosely because Nintendo's consoles have never been, on par. Well, at least they haven't been on par with other consoles in a long while. And that goes back to our whole realistic graphics things. Not to say that that's a necessity, because Nintendo games always have a very distinct art style, which I'm very appreciative of. But, it's an interesting concept that you'll be able to take your console on the go. So it's kind of like they're merging both their console, their stay-at-home console, with their mobile line, which will be anxious to see if they come out with a DS or if they merge that into the Switch line.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they abandon the handheld altogether, because I think that's been a huge moneymaker for them. But they're kind of making a social thing, which is kind of what got me. I mean, it kind of took me back to the days of taking Game Boys out with friends and playing together and all that stuff. So yeah, it looks good. Should be interesting to see. Next, we have Microsoft partnering with top PC makers to make a Windows 10 VR headsets. Said they'll be starting at $299. So I'm assuming they're going to be different models or versions. Which it's kind of exciting to. Just any additions to the VRs.
Yeah, I think VR has kind of slowed down a little bit. I don't know if the PlayStation VR has taken off as well as they thought. I know that they've got a really solid lineup of demos / games that came out with the release, but we really need right now is some good, solid, full-fledged VR games.
Right.
To date, we haven't really seen anything that's more than a demo, or you pay $30 for some of them, and they have some depth to them, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're comparable to a full-fledged game that you could play on your console. So we need to see some studios stepping up and taking a little bit of time and coming out with some really solid games, and I think the possibilities are out there for really exciting content.
Mm-hmm.
I think people just have to just slow down now and make some quality stuff.
Right, I agree. And also, starting at $299 is actually on the cheap side for VR.
I forget, PlayStation VR I think was $400.
Okay.
But I think that bundle included the eye camera and the remotes if you didn't already have them.
Oh.
I'm not sure, but yeah, you're still looking at a pretty pricey to get into VR.
Yeah.
But to do it right, you almost need that cost because, like, if you look at like the HTC Vive with its sensors, I mean that translates into the no lag, the like as you're moving in the game, and that's a necessity if you are going to have a true VR experience.
Yeah, you can't really get around the price there. I mean,
I think at this point it's just paying for the technology.
Yeah.
I think with anything like TVs or anything else, that as the technology, as they pay for the development and stuff, and that cost can come down, it'll transfer those savings to the consumers. But for now, if you want to get into VR, you're looking at paying a little bit of a premium to get the best VR experience possible.
Then next up, kind of some big news with Bethesda. They announced they are no longer giving out advanced review copies of their games. They will give these copies out a day before it launches. So you're going to be getting reviews like when the game's coming out. Which there's a lot of backlash, I guess. I think mainly from media because a lot of people look at these reviews and that's going to be some lost traffic for them. But then some people that say, well, we look at reviews, before the game comes out if we decide whether we want it, and now we can't have that. For me, it's not as big of a deal. I'd say with the majority of the games, I have an idea of whether I'm going to get it or not. Now, if I'm absolutely on the fence, might check out some reviews, but honestly, not a big deal for me.
Yeah, I mean, Bethesda has a solid track record, so I don't see the real, I don't see the real big deal in them doing this. Yes, netting an early copy and being able to put that review up is going to net you traffic. If you're a reviewer, it's going to get you views. It's going to get your website views because people want to see about it. They want to build the hype.
Yeah.
And, with the way that social media and all this information is readily accessible, one person's opinion could spawn people to jump on a bandwagon, and it may hurt your sales. So I don't necessarily blame Bethesda on this. I will say that I look at reviews from time to time, and it can make or break me from getting a game. But there's also a number of other factors in spite of a review. Like if you go back to Attack on Titan, that was a game that didn't really get that great of reviews, but it was a really fun game.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. And I watched streams and watched people's reactions to it that, kind of had watched the show or at least were giving it a chance and, used that to make my determine whether I was going to get it or not,
Yeah. And to me, if you're really that upset, like if you want to see a review and you have to get the day it comes out, I mean, it's kind of like, well, we can just wait a day, If they're getting it the day before, they'll probably have the reviews out that day, maybe the next day, the day it comes out. So it's like, I mean, really,
it's
you
not
wait
gonna
a couple days.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt you in a Bethesda game.
No.
With a game like Call of Duty, where if you play it for the multiplayer and you want to get on there as soon as you can and start leveling up, then yeah, you want to start playing day one. But but at that point, if you're that kind of person, you're already made up your mind if you're going to get that game. So if you're on the fence, wait for the review to come out.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't really see the big deal because Bethesda games always have a pretty solid track record.
All right.
So I don't see the big deal there.
The next, some GTA Online deals for Halloween. If you log on before October 31st, you get $250,000 automatically. It'll be deposited November 4th. And there's also 30% off on select vehicles and items through November 7th. So if you're looking to get cars or anything in GTA, now might be the time.
Once again, there you go, Rockstar, supporting the game, getting people to play it after all these years of being released, free content, driving people to continue to play it. I mean, if other developers don't jump on this bandwagon, I just don't get it. I mean,
No.
You just have the Red Dead 2 announcement trailer come out,
Yep.
and I mean, you think about it. Now I'm gonna get that game for
Oh,
sure because of the support of the constant, the DLCs, the replayability of it. I mean, you can't get a better value than buying a $60 game and have it being supported for 3 years down the road with fresh content and
For free.
yeah, for free.
Yeah.
And having it be fun and them being attentive to fixing things inside the game and it being free.
Yeah. Then we have a built-in game streaming coming to Windows 10. It's not with Twitch, it's with Beam, a streaming service that Microsoft acquired. I mean, obviously now they're making a case for Beam, a strong case. The one thing they did promise was a very low latency, which it would improve the interaction between streamer and viewers. Because right now, if you're watching a stream, you comment, they read it, it takes a minute or two. But at first I was kind of excited because I'm just getting back into streaming now. So I thought, well, maybe I'll check this out. But now that it's with Beam, I don't know. I mean, if Beam gets popular, if that's what people want to watch it on, I would definitely check it out. But just kind of something to keep on the radar, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the argument for latency, on the flip side of that, I look at that as if you're playing a game, if I'm playing a game on a stream and I'm playing the game, it might take me a little bit to recognize that comment or whatever anyways. So the low latency thing is, I mean, you're already not super attentive to comments as it is. Now, if I stop playing and I'm, chatting with the stream, then that latency issue could be brought up. But, I mean, a majority of the time, people streaming on Twitch are, playing the game. So there's going to be that delay between, the player and the viewers.
And I think, well, I know you can do this. I don't know to what extent it's used. I know you can actually set a delay for messages if you have mods, so they can read them, and if there's anything bad, they can kick it out. Now I don't know how much people use that, but so I mean, if you want to add in a delay anyway, then it kind of defeats the purpose. Then a controversial video game movie director, Bo, I think it's how you say his name, retires because he said the market for video game movies is dead. Now, we've said before, a lot of video game movies don't do that well. But the one we just watched, World of Warcraft, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
This past weekend, the first time I saw it, and it was really good. I mean, I loved it. So, I mean, it kind of stinks to see people discouraged because they don't do well.
Well, I think in that aspect, if you look at the games that he made movies out of, he did Alone in the Dark, which really wasn't a super popular series. I mean, I'm sure it did good, but it wasn't a movie-making, draw. And then you go into Blood Rain, which, once again, that was probably more of the controversy of that game with the violence and the seductive heroine in it. And, and then you have Far Cry, which Far Cry was a popular game. Now that could have translated well into a movie because basically in Far Cry it was about having the freedom to do whatever you want, however you wanted. So really in a movie that's really opened up to interpretation. And like we said before, there's other video game movies that haven't done too bad. Resident Evil, I mean, they've made 4 or 5 of those. There's 1, 2, 3,
at least,
4. There's 4. I think the 5th one's going to be the final one, but those have done well. And they're loosely based off of the video game. You know, the possibilities out there. I just think that directors just not necessarily don't go about it right, but I think directors have their vision of what they want, and you know, it may not be in line with what the gamers or the general public want, and you know, that's with any movie.
Yeah.
Any movie could have a lot of hype and then not live up to it. But what we're seeing these days is we're seeing too many rehashes of older movies or remakes, and because they're not coming up with fresh ideas or whatever, I think they need to kind of, you know,
branch out
and kind of take that leap of faith and be willing to test the waters. I mean, because not every video game movie has been a strikeout. You know, there have been good movies that have come from, like, I mean, the Hitman movies, they made a couple of those, and I didn't think those were too bad. Those were pretty decent action movies. And
especially the newest one was pretty good.
Yeah, so...
And speaking of leap of faith, the Assassin's Creed movie's coming out.
Yeah, and I think...
It looks decent.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, I have high hopes for it. I think it'll be all right. I like the concept. And, you know, they have some creative liberties that they can take there because, you know, there's just the way they can look at a different time in history and still capture that whole vibe of the game.
Yeah. And like we said, in World of Warcraft, I think it did pretty well. I mean, it was a good movie. So I would say if there's any time for a video game movies is now. I mean, there's I think a lot of high budget ones coming out. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And that's pretty much it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content. Leave a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. What video game movies came out that you liked, and we'll see you next time.
Can I opt to do the Carolina Reaper challenge now?
I'm thinking it might be better.